the Nurses Doing GAMSAT Podcast, brought to you by Thankfully GAMSAT. We're here to teach you how to smash the GAMSAT, get into medicine, and become a flippin' great doctor.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Nurses Doing GAMSAT podcast. And we are shooting this remotely today, and we did coordinate these outfits.
Oh, don't lie. Anyone watching on YouTube, I left the house first and I put the green outfit on first, okay?
You know what? I am not the pool cleaner, although I feel like I am here to. There's a pool back there. Not my usual colourful outfit, but it's kind of colourful, I guess. It's green.
We are here to talk about the GAMSAT, but I have to put it out there. I left the house in a green outfit first. He copied me. Just saying.
No. We coordinated, we styled, we posed. We posed.
Although remember that time when we came to the office and down to the shoes we had the same thing. You had like a maroon sweater, and then I had like a maroon jacket, and then we had jeans down to the brown shoes. And Karina, who was working with us probably 10 years ago, she took a photo of us and I was delighted and you were so upset.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the matching couple thing. I'm not a fan of that, especially the Christmas ones are the worst. And I got to admit, I have done that. I think we have done that, right? We have.
We have done matching Christmas.
But I'm not going to show any there's no photo evidence. I've burnt it all. I've deleted it. I've jammed up those hard drives.
If anyone's in Slack and wants to see the matching Christmas outfit, I will totally put it in Slack upon request, okay?
Don't do it.
Anyway, we are here to talk about GAMSAT. Yes, not just GAMSAT. Our matching coordinated outfits.
So this is actually our first official episode. The previous one was more of an introduction to this podcast, what it's about. And this is the first of a mini-series, a 4-part mini-series called the January Jumpstart Challenge. And so over these next 4 episodes, we're going to be talking to you about, well, how to jumpstart your preparation this January. So if you're part of that, great. Get into the Slack group. We have that. We've got a community there. If you're not part of it yet, you can go to thankfullygamsat.com/jumpstart. It's free to register. And if you're watching this after January or the thing's over, go to that link anyway. We're going to update it to give you some freebies and some GAMSAT tips there anyway. But what are we talking about today, Mare?
We're going to talk about time because, I speak to so many people and they're just like, how do I find the time? I don't have enough hours in the day. I work full time. I've got kids. I've got just life. Life happens. And so, we really wanted to tackle how to make time, how to really view time. And you can go, Tom. I know you have a lot to say on the topic.
Yeah, because I think it's worthwhile mentioning. So this is specifically for nurses and healthcare professionals. We call it Nurses Doing GAMSAT, but it includes all healthcare professionals, right? And you're working full-time, or you might even be doing shift work. And you might be sitting there going, I'd love to do the GAMSAT, or I'm doing the GAMSAT, but I'm stressing out about time. And we hear this a lot. It's not just you, it happens a lot. Like Mary was saying, you've got full-time work, but then also that's not it. That's not it. You've also got probably want to exercise. Chances are you travel back and forth from work. You need to cook your own food and shop for your own food. You might have kids. You might have a partner. You might have other activities you do as well. And so trying to get GAMSAT study on top of that can be difficult. And so this is one of the biggest concerns that our nurses, so we run a GAMSAT preparation program called the Boot Camp. And part of that, we have a lot of healthcare professionals. And one of their biggest problems is time, right? And it's not just the time, but also the energy, right? And so we're going to be focusing on time today. And so, Mary, why don't you give us some examples of some of the people that you've spoken to and kind of the time challenges that they have?
Oh, I can think of Anarchy, for example, who's a single mum. She's working 2 jobs, working shift work as well. I've got a whole bunch of nurses who are like ED, for example, where it's like long shifts, 10 or 12 hours, maybe only 4 shifts a week. but they're really, and nights, and like 2 nights, then 2 afternoons, then 2 days off, and then days, and just that like shift in schedule, which is really challenging. I've got a whole bunch of also nurses working not in ward but in aged care and doing like, you know, afternoons or nights just straight.
Yeah.
Remember our vet who worked with us many years ago, and he exclusively worked night shift.
Oh, yeah.
And he studied his bloody ass off. I loved it. He got into med school. He's probably nearly a doctor by now.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, just some of the challenges. Also, I'm finding people with families find it quite challenging, particularly with most of the people that we help are kind of, you know, late 20s, 30s, 40s, and the kids are still young.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're 30-year-old kids who are like taking care of themselves.
Teenagers,
although we do have a couple who have kids that age, but
we do.
Most of the time their kids are 7 or 5 and have dance class after school or soccer practice, and you know, there's no magical laundry fairies. I mean, if anyone has a laundry fairy, please send them to my house. I would love to see them, but
we have lots of green outfits to be washed.
Yes, we have all the different colors and one green load.
No, we don't. Okay, enough of that.
For anyone that's actually on the podcast not seeing us, we're both wearing matching green outfits. But I think, there's just heaps of different people with different challenges. I know my ambos, like my paramedics, are always in this like rotating roster. I mean, it's just all a challenge.
Yeah,
even if
it's not a reason to not do it. Like, it's not like, oh, I can't. No, it's not. And we're going to talk about that today. There are clear things you can do. There are things you can implement. It's not a magic solution, but it can help you get it done despite all the things you've got going on. Things will have to shift. You're going to need to do things differently. But if it's important to you to crush the GAMSAT and to become a doctor, then you can and will implement these things because they do help and make a difference. Like, to give you an example, one of our boot campers was an EDRN doing shifts, and he could only, through all the efforts that he could put in, get in a maximum of 8 hours of GAMSAT study a week. Then we implemented what we call our extra study day advantage, and he went to doing over 20 hours a week of GAMSAT study while still doing the same shifts, right? So it's possible, and you've got to be looking at that around 15 plus hours a week of GAMSAT study to be getting ready for the GAMSAT. And so today we're going to talk about some mindset shifts about time, how to better understand time, but then also some more practical things you can start implementing to start creating more time as part of the January Jumpstart. We want to create time so you can then fill it with the right kind of GAMSAT study. And that's the other thing, right? We can create time, but then you need to fill it with things that are actually effective. It's a two-pronged approach, because if you create the time and fill it with crap, well, you're not going to get very far, right? No matter
Can I please talk about Brendan? Because Brendan came to us and he was studying by himself whilst at uni, and he was like, I'm doing 20 hours a week and I didn't get in and everything. And then he went from like being at uni to not being at uni and working full time. And if anyone's already done that shift, you know, you go from being very time poor and thinking, woe is me, poor me, I'm a uni student, into full-time work going, yo, I had it easy when I was at uni. Like, this is way easier. So he went from having 20 hours per week, faffing around by himself, trying to figure it out. Then he became a full-time phlebotomist, and he had to reduce his hours to 15 hours a week. But when he studied the right stuff within those 15 hours, he got in that year with us. And he was studying less hours. So today we're going to talk about how to study more hours. So don't do that. Don't study less hours. But it's also about what you do in those hours that matter. Because if you're faffing around, doesn't matter if you study 50 hours a week, you're still not going to get in. So we've got to focus those hours. And the whole point, and you say this all the time, is high quality study. We don't want you to be studying kind of, and not getting anywhere. Yeah, I also find a lot of people, they always feel like they're rushing and they always feel like they're behind and wishing they had more time. So like when they're studying, they're thinking, oh, they feel guilty. I should have picked up that extra shift. And then when they're working, they're like, oh my God, I should be studying. And their mind is always somewhere else. I don't know if anyone else feels that. Like, or finally you take a break. You're like, oh my God, Friday night, I'm going to go to the movies with my girlfriends. I'm going to have a great time. You go to the movies and you're like, oh shit, I should be studying. And you're not even enjoying the time that you have off, no matter what you do. So there's always this feeling of rushing and you need to be somewhere else. That's a very, very common thing that I hear from
I
students
always
too.
have that feeling when I'm hanging out with my girlfriends that I really should be somewhere else.
Oh, come on. You know what I'm talking about.
I know, I'm joking. I'm mucking around. I'm like, yeah. So the point here is that time is not the enemy, right? And we're going to talk about how to reclaim your power over time and to manage it better. So why don't we jump in, Marie? Do you want to get us cracking on the on the mindset shift here?
Yeah, I want to kind of introduce this thing called Einstein time. And I read it in a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Amazing book. I don't
Let's talk about Newtonian time before that. Before we talk, because Einstein time, that's the stuff. That's the what we
All
want.
right, well, you talk about Newtonian time,
So
okay?
Newtonian time versus Einstein time, right? Newtonian time is that time is fixed, right? You have a finite amount of time. It's scarce, and you got to cram it. You got to fill it. You got to get it done. We're always running out of time, right? And it's how most of us probably function, right? It's how the realistic people function. You got so many hours. You got to get it done. So many done. Blah blah blah. But the truth, and this leads to us always feeling rushed, like Marie was talking about. Feeling behind, wishing you were somewhere else, wishing you had more time. But look, everyone has the same amount of time, 24 hours in a day. And how it's about changing the way that we think about it. And so the to give you an example let's say you're working on the wards and you've got all these patients you need to look after and you've got all these medications that need to be filled or whatever jobs you've got going on. All of a sudden your phone rings and it's your mum. Someone is sick in your family and something's going wrong. All of a sudden you're on that phone for 15, 20 minutes, right? And then you get off and somehow your jobs still get done. So you created that extra 20 minutes. And so this leads to Einstein time, right? Which is a different approach to time. And Marie, do you want to I'll let you talk about that in that case.
Well, where we first learned about Einstein time was The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. That's the book. I don't recommend you read it for GAMSAT. I'm just going to give you the crux of it. But after GAMSAT, if you want a good read, go for it. And Einstein time, the concept of it is that you are the actual source of time. Something like time is not happening to you out there and it's uncontrollable. It's something that's within you. And the real premise is that you will never have enough time for the things you don't actually want. But when something truly matters to you, you will find time. And so what we need to do is start to take ownership of time and stop letting it be something that's out there and start realizing that you are in control of your time and how you spend it. Stop letting it control you and you need to control it. So it's a little bit of a shift in perception. And of course, we're going to talk about the practical application of that and how to start to reclaim some of your time. But first, you've got to step out of the Newtonian time and into the Einstein time. That it is my time, I control it. I get to invest it where I want instead of it telling me what to do.
That's right. And so, like Marie said, you don't have time for the things you don't really want to do, but you do have time for the things that are important, like that phone call from your mum when someone's sick, right? Or something else that's very important to you. Somehow you've managed to make that time and everything else is taken care of, right? So that's kind of the shift that we want to make. But let's talk about practicalities, Marie.
Well, in terms of practicalities, I'm going to first start by talking about averages and what actually happens when we look at where people on average spend their time. Because Aussies on average spend 2 hours per day on social media. Did you know that? So over the week, as an average, you're spending about 14 hours a week
14 hours. Yeah.
on
That's heaps. Imagine that was on
face-based,
GAMSAT
like I
stuff,
say.
right?
Insta-face, face-based, whatever
TikTok.
you want to call them.
Yeah.
TikTok, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's like 2 bloody work days. Like, really, that's 2 shifts at work. If you're a nurse, you're working 7-hour shifts.
Short.
I want, like, I guess I want all of my students to think, like, how often do I find myself just, like, mindlessly scrolling when you know that there should be something more important that you should be doing?
Everyone's like, no, I'm not that bad. No, not me. Not me. That's for other people. That's the other Australians doing that, right?
Definitely everyone else.
Definitely others. It's not anyone listening to this.
I don't look at Facebook very often. I don't look at Instagram. All right, let's do a quick little,
Let's
like,
play a little game.
yes.
Pull out your phone right now. Wherever
Me
you
too.
are, have a look at your phone. So you've either got, we're going to do this for iPhones or Androids. So if you've got an iPhone, open up the settings app and go to screen time. We're going to have a little look to see what your averages are. Right.
Shit's
Have a
gonna
look.
get
What's
real.
what are you spending each day on social media? Now, as you do this, if you're not already in the Slack channel, go to thankflipgamsat.com/jumpstart and register for the Jumpstart challenge, and you'll be invited to join the Slack channel. But if you're in there, type in there how many hours a day on average you're spending on social media. And if you've got an Android, you go to settings and then you go to digital well-being and parental controls, and it's in there. So have a little look at that.
Can I take a note, Tom? Just like a little side note here, that we purposefully did not make a Facebook group for this particular challenge because, Facebook and Instagram and all of those kind of things are great, but they can sometimes be a time suck and a time, like, pull your time away, exactly what we're talking about here. So we have very strategically gone onto Slack, which is going to be for GAMSAT stuff only, and you're not going to get pulled into a wave of different cat videos and workouts and fashion and whatever it is that you follow. We'll see Kim Kardashian's latest outfit. No, none of that's going to be in the Slack channel. It's going to be GAMSAT stuff only, which is why we're saying go and post there, because you can start to create a community and start to connect with other like-minded people without having the distractions of all the social media, but put in your screen time so we can actually start to see how much time that you are spending on social media so that we can start to reclaim a little bit of that. Because say, for example, you're an average person and you're spending 14 hours a week. What if we only reclaimed half of that time? And we go, okay, 7 of those 14 hours, we are going to invest in different ways. So you still get your Instagram fix or your TikTok fix or whatever it is that YouTube fix, but you are now spending a full work day achieving your dreams, going after what's actually important to you, making a life for yourself. And that is only one way to reclaim your time.
Yeah, and 7 hours a week can be huge. Like you stack that up a couple, even if it's just, obviously we need to do more than 7 hours, but we can start with that or add that to what you're already doing. That's a huge amount. But that's not insignificant, and you can reclaim more of that as well.
So I think for most people, it's a little bit of a shock. So please be sitting down when we should have given this as a warning. Please be sitting down when you see your screen time. Mine actually automatically pops up to me, which is a little bit scary as well sometimes, particularly during the holidays. Like during the holidays, my screen time's crazy.
No, I get a notification once a week that goes, your average has decreased or increased this week. When it's increased, it's always a bit like, ooh, okay.
I also think, like, if we're reclaiming 7 hours, if you want to go all in and reclaim the whole lot, imagine you just like wiped out Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube off your phone, and you reinvested 7 hours into, say, GAMSAT study, and then the other 7 hours into recharge. And when I say recharge, I mean exercising right, reading a good book, spending quality time with your family, friends, things like watching Instagram or like Netflix or whatever. Watching a screen doesn't actually recharge you. But sometimes just calling like a friend. I've got my friend Lou. When I call her and I speak to her for an hour, it's like I've had a 3 hour nap. I feel energized. I always get off the phone feeling connected with my like best friend and just feeling good. So like what if you looked at reinvesting it not just into your GAMSAT study, but into things that are going to create energy rather than suck energy away?
Yeah, that's it. And so that's the first kind of practical way to implement that, reclaiming your time. The second is what we call pre-spend your time. Right. So the way this works is that, when we have a budget of money, you kind of allocate different components of it to different things. Groceries, bills, entertainment, clothes, whatever it is. But we want to do the same thing with your time, right? So you're already doing it, but again, you're not really taking ownership of it. It's just happening. So we're just reclaiming it again. So what if you're a nurse or a healthcare professional, you're probably working on a roster. Maybe you're not, maybe you are, but let's think of it that way, right? You've got a fortnightly roster, and every fortnight you're told when you're working. So that time is already pre-spent, right? It's already allocated for work. And generally what happens is that people then go, well, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to kind of make some food. I'm going to come back. I might see a friend, play on TikTok. And then if I have some time, I'll squeeze in some GAMSAT study. Oh, I've run out of time. I've got no time for GAMSAT study, right? So we want to turn that around. We want to be more proactive and reclaim your time. So you've got the work pre-spent. The next thing you pre-spent, that you put in your GAMSAT study. That's the very next thing you schedule into your calendar. Now you got to obviously.
Non-negotiable.
Sorry?
That's non-negotiable.
Yeah, non-negotiable time. This isn't like I'll do it if I can, but if my friend calls and she wants to hang out, we'll go instead. No, this is sorry, I can't hang out. I'm doing GAMSAT for these next few months. I'm in a period of my life where I'm going to be saying no to a lot of things. It's not personal. I just need to do that. Right, and that's one of the conversations that we talk to our students about having. Yeah, so you're going to pre-spend that time. You're going to put it into your calendar so that you know when you're going to be studying, and then you fit everything else in around that, right? And this is how you can go from not doing any study or maybe a little bit, and especially if you've reclaimed your social media time as well, all of a sudden you've got this extra time and you can put that in your calendar, non-negotiable study time, and you can put in as much or as not as little, but as much as you want as well, because it's there. The time is yours.
Yeah, I also find when pre-spending time, you realize how much time you spend doing crap.
Yeah,
Like, how much time do you spend making dinner every single night and cleaning up after dinner? Not even just eating it, like making it, cleaning up, doing all these things. And when you realize, okay, I'm just going to have a half an hour break for dinner and I'm going to be doing after my shift, I'm going to be going in and doing all these things. You go, well, I need to kind of pre-make or bulk make all my dinners for the next week or so, or 3 days. I'm going to be eating the same thing for dinner every night. But it's not a problem because you can see where you're reinvesting the time. It's not
yeah,
like you enjoyed making a simple dinner or washing the dishes up afterwards anyway. You're not missing out on things that are really rejuvenating for most people. Most people just want to eat and go. So things like meal delivery services, for example, can really quicken up the time where you can reinvest in the non-negotiable. I don't think in 10 years' time anyone's going to be going, I'm really glad I made chicken cacciatore on a random Tuesday.
yeah,
But like what you will be glad you're doing, I'm really glad that I invested that time in going after my dreams. And now I am a pediatrician or I'm a cardiologist, because all of this is not even about the GAMSAT. It's about you living the life of your dreams and making small tweaks to your life to get to where you want to go. It's got
yeah,
nothing to do with the GAMSAT. The GAMSAT is the means to an end. What we
yeah,
really want is your dream life to happen for you.
yeah, yeah. Because this is what you're going to be doing as a medical student, right? You're going to be expected to do 40 hours of study a week, and then potentially 40 hours after uni, right? So there's a lot of time, and you need to squeeze it and make sure you get everything else done as well. So one of the things that's really important with the GAMSAT is to level up the way you do life. You can't just keep doing everything the way you've always done it and become a medical student, right? You've got to change the way that you think and approach your activities, your life, and really start to refine and become a higher level performer at it. And so the benefit of pre-spending your time is it prevents all these distractions from coming up. It also allows you to be more proactive and start reclaiming that time as well.
When you've reclaimed the time, you also then realize what's the non-essentials and what's the luxury. So would you prefer, like in my case, would I prefer to scroll on Instagram for an hour or call my friend Lou? I can tell you, like hands down, I'm going to be choosing calling my friend Lou. It is way better for my soul. I laugh a lot. Like we just piss ourselves laughing all the time. I feel good afterwards. I never get off Instagram going, I feel really rejuvenated here. I kind of feel a little bit dirty. And so like understanding what is your luxury time and how you're going to invest that to recharge yourself, your mind, your body, your spirit, all of those things is just as important as how am I going to invest my time when I'm studying for the GAMSAT or when I'm working, all of those things.
Yeah, and so the work, your GAMSAT study, they become the essentials, the non-negotiables, and then you can add in the luxuries like scrolling mindlessly on social media for a limited amount of time, right? They become more of a luxury or a reward even for getting the work done. All right, so let's kind of bring it together for your homework. Now, this is, again, part of the January Jumpstart. That's what we're doing here, the 4-part mini-series. This is the first part, creating that time, space, and that headspace for GAMSAT study. And so the first thing you're going to do is to reclaim some time from social media. Look at your phone, how much time you're spending there, and type that into the Slack channel. And we'll have everyone kind of doing that in there. Secondly, is start pre-spending your time on GAMSAT study, proactively doing it. And then, replacing that mindless scrolling with more essential things, like GAMSAT study or things that actually rejuvenate you, like Marie's been saying. So you've got your 3 things there. But I think the really important thing to take away from this is that time is not something that happens to you. It's not the enemy. Rather, you are the person that needs to reclaim control and power over it and ownership of it as well. You own it. You've got to start dictating it and start controlling it.
I think there are some other things that we can help them with, Tom. And what I'm thinking is, yes, you're going to be reclaiming your time. Yes, you're going to be pre-spending your time, and you're going to be choosing kind of your intentional actions to spend your luxury time on. But for those who are like #addicted, what we might need to look at is even some app blockers or time trackers to start to get you to get away from that addiction to the phone. Because I mean, I'm not saying it's anyone listening, but maybe other people may feel like they pick up their phone 500 million times a day, even if they have nothing to look at. And the reason why that happens is because it's a dopamine hit in the brain, and we have trained ourselves when we need a dopamine hit to pick up the phone. And so putting things in, and so just a simple, like do a Google search on like app blockers or time trackers on how to set them up on your phone or set them up on the laptop. Me personally, I was such a social media addict. I actually had to totally delete them off my phone because I just found that whenever it was on my phone, I'd just instantly look at it and I'd get sucked in. And so all I do is now on my laptop, that's the only time that I use my social media. And because it's on my laptop, I'm usually using my laptop for work, and I usually want to pump through my work as quickly as I can, so I don't end up spending as much time as I would as if it was on my phone and kind of easily accessible while I was doing 500 other things and not concentrating. And I also have an app blocker so that I can only use social media for a maximum. I've got it set to 25 minutes a day, but you can set it to any amount. In fact, if I have a little look, I wonder if I can tell you what the one is that I use. It's called, it just says disabled limit. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. Maybe in the Slack channel, I'll just pop it in. But basically, it allows you to just put in if you want to spend 10 minutes a day on there or an hour. And then once my time is up, it just blocks it. I can't go into that site unless I go and manually disable it, which I don't go and do because I realize I don't want to invest that time into looking at social media. We wouldn't be doing this podcast. I'd be just scrolling social media instead of making valuable content for people to be able to change their lives and live their dreams. So Yeah, I think there's heaps to do. Jump into the Slack channel. Please tell me if it's a little bit of time that you're reclaiming. If it's 1 hour a day, I'm happy with that.
That's
If
cool.
it's 2 hours a day, I'm happy with that. If it's 3 hours a day, I'm happy with that. Like, please tell us, because like, I love to hear not only how much time you're going to be reclaiming, but what you're doing with it. Like, are you doing practice questions? Are you reviewing topics that you're weak in? Are you working on your essays? Are you reading symbolic poetry? Like, what are you doing with those hours? I think it's going to be fun. I want to hear it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's about it for the first episode there. The next one, what we're going to talk about is if you don't feel like you're smart enough, or maybe what you've been studying isn't really working, it's not making the progress you want to in your GAMSAT study, or you feel intimidated by it. We're going to be busting through a few myths about what the GAMSAT's actually about. And we'll talk about why the study you've been doing maybe isn't working for you, and why, or how to change that feeling of, I'm not smart enough, I can't do this. So we're going to be really pulling that apart, changing your mindset around it, but and also going through some practical things there as well to implement that.
Tom, we need to talk about practice makes perfect, because I'm telling you, if I hear that one more time, my head's going to explode.
That's one of them, right? That's one of them.
That is a myth. Practice doesn't make perfect. If you're practicing the wrong stuff, it ain't going to help you.
And if you're doing practice questions don't develop your skills, they test them. So if you don't have the skills before you do the questions, you're not going to have them afterwards. You're just going to feel like crap because you keep getting them wrong. And that's one of the reasons why, when people just come to us saying, I've just done lots of practice questions and I haven't improved, we're like, well, I'm not surprised, because you've just been testing yourself and not actually working on any problem areas and fixing them up. So yeah, we're going to go into that in more depth in the next episode. So you can listen to that however you're listening to it here. But if you want all the extra bits and pieces, if you want all the links, we actually have the show notes. So if you go to thankflipgamsat.com/episode 1, you can get the show notes for this, the links and the transcripts and all the bits and pieces. But then also you can join the January Jumpstart there, or just go to thankflipgamsat.com/jumpstart. Whether you're watching this in January or later, go to that. We've got some goodies for you there as well. But yeah, if you register for that, we're going to get some extra goodies, some extra activities to implement when you study, as well as you'll be part of that Slack channel that we keep talking about, where we'll do some Q&As. We'll give you some extra bonus material and kind of help you along in there as well. But yeah, you have some things now to do to reclaim your time. It's all within your power. This is what doctors are doing. This is what medical students are doing. This is what high-performing people are doing, to be able to get stuff done despite having the same amount of time as everybody else.
Love it. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys all next week, or next episode, I should say.
Next time we'll have different non-matching outfits. All right?
I'm not promising that.
I'm going to wear a shirt that's so out there that you will not have one, Marie, that can match.
Challenge accepted. Thank you very much. No, I'm kidding. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, I have a cool gift for you, just for listening to the Nurses Doing GAMSAT podcast. We do some of our best work in our Facebook group called, you guessed it, Nurses Doing GAMSAT. It's free to join, and every day we're sharing actionable guides, tips and tricks, and really just how to smash the exam and get into medicine. You can join today by searching Nurses Doing GAMSAT on Facebook. Thanks for listening to another episode, and I'll see you next time.